Hi, I'm Tana Grace, and you're watching the Explorcana show.
Hey Explorers, in today's episode we are going to be talking about some Azurite Sea Set 6 spoilers. That set is going to be coming out Friday the 15th of November in your local game stores, as well as the big box retail stores on Friday the 29th of November. We're also going to be talking about the Disney Lorcana Challenge that is going on in Seattle, and we finally will be going over the Illumineers Champions League, which is a culmination of different content creator teams as well as professional teams going against each other, 3 versus 3 in online webcam matches. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so the newest set of Lorcana, Azurite Seas, is on the horizon to come out. We're less than a month away. I know it seems like sets are just coming out lightning fast. That's kind of just how it is in card games. I mean, 3-month time span between sets is pretty normal. I know it can be kind of get to be a lot sometimes, but nevertheless, it's always exciting to see spoilers, get ready for the next pre-release, and get ready to start brewing new decks and constructed. So I'm not going to go over all the spoilers that have come out. I've just kind of picked out a few that seem interesting to me that have quite unique abilities that we haven't really seen yet. And one of those is going to be Tiana, restaurant owner. She's a 3-cost, non-inkable 1/4, quest for 2. And whenever a character of yours is challenged while this character is exerted, the challenging character gets -3 attack this turn unless that player pays 3 ink. So it's kind of this like tax ability that we've seen in some other TCGs. So first of all, she's got decent stats, not great attack, but it's funny because it kind of like goes along with her ability anyway. But a 3-cost for a 1/4 that quests for 2, not terrible. Obviously you'd want a little bit more attack on it, but yeah, so whenever, and it's any character of yours is challenged, right? So even her. So as long as she's exerted, she quests for 2, so that's good stats there. They get -3 attack unless your opponent wants to pay 3 ink for each character that's challenging. Like, you want to challenge with 2 characters this turn, that's 6 ink. That's absurd. That's like, they basically don't get to play anything else for that entire turn. So yeah, I'm really excited about this card. It's something we haven't seen in Lorcana yet, and I don't know, it could go in kind of an aggressive deck, it could go in like a mid-range deck, or a deck that's just like hard to deal with things. You pair this with like Steel and like the other Tiana that has like resist, and like it's exerted, you have no cards in your hand, and like they can't play actions anymore. So yeah, I mean, you could just kind of be this like mid-range aggressive deck where all of your characters cost like a little bit more, but they're harder to deal with, they're harder to remove, and they can consistently quest until your opponent just they can't answer it and you get to 20. So another one that's been spoiled is John Silver in he's a legendary in Steel. He costs 8. He's inkable. He's a 6/6, and he quests for 2, and he has Shift 5 and Resist +2. At the start of your turn, deal 1 damage to each opposing readied character. That's pretty interesting. There could be some aggressive decks like we've seen with the purple yellow like aggressive decks that have a lot of high lore characters with like 1 willpower, and if they either quest with it and get the lore, but then you can easily challenge them, get out of the way. Sometimes I know the aggressive decks will wait until they have like a bounce effect so they can reuse it a couple times. Something like John Silver would punish that situation where they wouldn't be able to wait around. They would have to quest with their guys, in which you have a 6/6 with resist 2 that can easily just start taking them out if they are exerted, as well as if they decide not to, then it just starts putting damage counters on their readied characters. And something to note is a like freshly played character where their ink is still drying. If it's not like a bodyguard or something, it's not going to come into play and exerted. They're not going to be able to quest with it right away, unless it has like rush or something they could challenge. But it's just going to come into play, and then at the start of your turn, if you already had John Silver in play, it immediately takes 1 damage, which really kind of combos with the like Emerald Steel shenanigans that we haven't really seen be too much like breakout into competitive play. But I think as we get more and more tools, we could definitely see something like that. But green has a lot of things that care about your opponent's characters being damaged or having a damage on it already. Like there's effects that like banish a character, that it has a damage on it already. There's a few different things. The new legendary Anna from the previous set. There's the action, the 3-cost action that, ring the bell, that banishes a damaged opposing character. And then there's just all kinds of other things, like your opponent has a damage counter on a character, you draw a card, or just, there's all kinds of things like Robin Hood stuff in there. But yeah, so something we haven't really seen as all the legendaries that we've seen spoiled so far just have these like crazy unique abilities, which is like how legendary is supposed to work anyway. But it's cool. We're getting a lot of new toys to play with. All right, and the last spoiler we're going to talk about today is also a legendary. I mean, legendaries are just the funnest things to talk about. Is a new Amethyst Genie Wonderful Trickster, 7 cost, inkable, 4/7 with shift 5, can quest for 2. And he's got 2 different abilities. One really good one: whenever you play a card, draw a card, any card, doesn't matter how much it costs 1. Play it. It's Popsicle. Play a Popsicle. Draw a card from Popsicle. Draw a card from Genie. Any card you play, draw a card. And then an interesting second ability, which I guess is just to kind of put the brakes on the first ability a bit. At the end of your turn, put all cards in your hand on the bottom of your deck in any order. That doesn't sound great, but I do like drawing a card every time I play a card. So this kind of seems to me as sort of like a combo engine where you shift it into play and then have like a bunch of, so obviously they just like screams like Amethyst Sapphire to me, is where you can ramp into this with the Sapphire cards, shift it, and hope maybe you get to like 10 ink, you shift it, and then you still got like 5 ink or something, or maybe like the legendary Sapphire Mufasa, whatever, you ready all your ink, you quest with them, whatever. If you have like a ton of ink and you put this into play and you still have like 4 or 5 cards in your hand, they're like cheap or whatever, go along with a combo engine that you've got, then yeah, every time you play a card, you draw a card, whatever. I think this could also be kind of funny with Clarabelle. Yeah, it will work with Clarabelle, but I think what's going to happen is Genie's ability and Clarabelle's ability are both going to go into the bag at the end of your turn, and Clarabelle's only going to resolve if you have less cards in your hand than your opponent before the Genie ability happens. The Clarabelle Marble won't go in the bag at all unless you already have less cards than your opponent in your hand. So, but it's pretty funny though, because you could decide if you have 0 cards in your hand at the end of turn anyway. Both of the abilities go in the bag. You can choose. You get to choose. You're the player. You're in control of what order you want to resolve them in. You resolve Genie's ability first. So no cards go on the bottom, whatever. Then Clarabelle's ability. Then you get to draw cards equal to the number of cards your opponent has. And then next turn, you're kind of set up to like really go off. So like it's something that could combo with Sapphire, maybe with Emerald, with Clarabelle. It's super interesting. And like the shift cost is not terrible at 5. 7, you're probably not going to have a ton of ink left over unless you're just like ramping like crazy. But I don't know. It seems interesting. Could be super powerful. I mean, they had to have tacked on that second ability for some reason. You can't just let whenever you play a card, draw a card, just run wild. So something I'm super excited to mess around with. All right. Well, as we all know, the last known North American challenge for this year, Seattle, is going on this weekend. I don't think any more are going to get announced because they've already kind of locked in the dates for the Continentals. As we know, the one for North America is going to be in January of next year. But we've got the last one for North America this weekend, October 26th, 27th in Seattle. I will not be in attendance. I'm helping the production team from home. Again, I've been helping them out a bit with like the card viewer and stuff for the stream. It's a lot of fun. So I get to just hang out at home, watch all the action. The production team does a great job. It's really fun to watch. Definitely check it out if you haven't before. Or hopefully you're going because that's the most fun. Seattle should be a lot of fun. It's going to be the last, I think, big event for the Set 5 metagame. And it's been pretty fleshed out. I mean, obviously we know like Ruby Sapphire's got to be hands down like the top dog of the format. It's definitely beatable, but just in a vacuum, I think it has had the most success like across big events, challenges, Ruby Amethyst also still definitely a powerhouse. Don't think it's as impressive as it was in previous sets, but it's still up there. It's still tier 1. Steel Song definitely still has a shot. I think it might be a little bit weaker than it has been in the past, but I mean, you've got Daisy is crazy good. You got Naveen is crazy good. So I know diehard Steel Song fans are still out there just like crushing it. I've seen a lot of people taking down their local set champs with Steel Song. It's just one of those decks. There's people that are just gonna play it no matter what. It's not for me right now. I really liked the weird hybrid version in chapter 1, but we've come a long way since then. And there's just a lot more other things that I find more fun, but Steel Song definitely a taker. Emerald Amethyst looks like a lot of fun. I've got several buddies going to Seattle that are most likely going to be running that this weekend. They've been working on it for the last couple months now. Had some success with it at the Dallas Challenge. It's just kind of like Ruby Amethyst, but Emerald cards instead. You don't have to be prepared. You don't have as much removal. You have like Maui and all that, but you still have the purple interaction with like Snake Fox, all that good stuff. And you're just going to be a little bit more aggressive. And you have Ursula to attack their hand. Bonsai is nuts. I love that card. Its stats are insane. It's like the only downfall is that it's not inkable, but I mean, a 3-2 on turn 2 that quests for 2 is just a nightmare for a lot of decks. I like, Ruby Sapphire has a lot of trouble clearing that. And if you have an open of like, Curse Merfolk into Bonsai against a control deck, you're just going to run away with the game. You're going to gain way too much lore, way too fast. And then I honestly haven't put a lot of thought into what I would play if I was going to the challenge. My favorite deck in the format right now, the most fun that I have playing, hands down, is the Amber Emerald Songs deck. Just like big songs, Ariel, Diablo, Prince John, discard, You've Forgotten Me. I only get to play in one set champs this go around. I secured my promo card. I got my Maribel. I did lose in top 8. But it was so much fun. Like, I love that deck. I will say, I'm a lot more confident in that deck in the best of 3 format. It's a bit of a high roll deck where if you don't draw the exact cards you need, you can just lose games no matter how well you play. That's just kind of the nature of the deck. You do mulligan super heavily with it. So most of the time you can get a hand that is workable. You can play it. There's a lot of interaction with like muses and stuff. So if you want to try it out, definitely get some reps in. There's a lot of different abilities and things going into the bag and coming out and craziness. That's just kind of the nature of the muses, but I love that kind of stuff. I love keeping up with, 1,000 spinning tops all at once and not letting any of them fall over. The biggest weakness of that deck is if you lose control of the game, you cannot come back. There is no recovering mechanic because your big finale sweeper is Under the Sea, and if you don't have Ariel, you're gonna need like 3 characters in play to sing that. So it's if your opponent wipes your board and they've got too many cards in their hand, it's not like you're just gonna like get to an Under the Sea. I did hardcast it a couple times, but still it's just not a great plan. And there's a lot of situations where you need to combo it with the legendary Kita that gives everything -3 attack till the start of your next turn. So that's my favorite deck in the format. If I like I said, I probably wouldn't. I don't know. It's tough. I love the deck so much. I have a lot of fun playing. I may just roll. I might have just rolled the dice and played it in Seattle. Again, I feel like I can squeak out matches a lot better in best of 3, especially with that deck, just because it has consistency issues. But I don't know. I might have just rolled the dice. The rest of my team is on just kind of, nobody can agree on, we've got half people on Ruby Amethyst, half people on Ruby Sapphire. So I've probably the most experience playing Ruby Sapphire. I just hate playing the best, most known deck. I like to usually get an edge with something outside the metagame a bit, or at least something that people consider tier 2 or 2.5, to where they don't really put much stock into testing against it, which I think Amber Emerald is probably one of the harder decks in the format to play correctly. And I think a lot of people don't think the deck is good, and so they don't really put it in their testing rotation. So they don't really get a lot of experience against it. So then they show up to the tournament, they get paired against a pilot who's confident and knows how to play the strategy, and they kind of just get blown out potentially because they didn't prepare for that matchup. So that's usually where I like to be in big events anyway. But yeah, I don't know. If I was gonna just pick a known tier 1 deck, I'd probably just play Ruby Sapphire because I have a lot of time on it. Otherwise, if I wanted to have fun, which these days, as I get older, I just want to have fun. I still win quite a bit when I'm just having fun. So it's just a better time, So I don't know. If I just 100% want to have a fun weekend, I would just play Amber Emerald and just roll the dice, see what happens. So if you're going to Seattle, good luck. There's way more to do than just the main event. My favorite thing about these weekends is there's just hundreds of side events, as casual or competitive as you want. I mean, even if you didn't get the main event, there are people that go just to play in the competitive side events. There are competitive level side events. There's definitely casual ones too. If you've never even played Lorcana and you're just going because you like Disney, there's like pack battles that are like, I don't know, $7 or something, and you get 2 booster packs, you shuffle them together, and you play against a person that did the same thing. So you don't have to worry about how big their collection is or how good they are at the game. You're just having fun. You're just playing Disney cards. They're sealed. If that's your jam, you just open up 6 booster packs and make a 40 card deck out of that. There's no color restrictions. Those are a lot of fun. I always like to see all the cosplays, all the Disney stuff. It's just fun, you know. So yeah, if you're going, have a great time. Bring snacks, stay hydrated, all that good stuff. And then if you're not going, join me in watching the live stream from home in the comfort of your own home. You don't have to socialize. You can just be in your pajamas and, you know, watch the live stream. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, I'm super excited for the challenge this weekend. Okay, and the last thing I really wanted to touch on for this episode is the Illumineers Champions League. It's something that's super cool. It's been going on online. Yeah, I'm gonna cover this more in the future, but it's just a really cool concept. But it's basically an online like 3v3 kind of tournament thing. I think so far they've really only done a couple exhibition matches against there's been 4 really super solid teams. But yeah, there's like some teams that are just like they're just pro Lorcana teams, and then there's some that are just like more on the like content creation side. Definitely great players. They're still, you know, jamming games and going to all the challenges and all that good stuff. But yeah, there's been a couple matches. There's been the Forgotten Mountain team versus Luxury Gaming, and it looks like Luxury Gaming won that 2v1. And I may go back and for the next on the next episode of our show, kind of just go over the actual matchups, who the players were, what decks they were on, that sort of thing. And then the only other exhibition match that has happened other than that was the team Labyrinth TCG versus Ink Thieves. I love Ink Thieves. They're such a cool team. Talman Purple's my guy. Love talking to that guy about decks, brewing decks. But yeah, super excited about this new series. It looks like they've just done a couple exhibition matches so far. But yeah, check them out on Twitter at Illumineers Champions League. Yeah, we'll put it on there at Illumineers CL, the Illumineers Champions League. They're playing, 3v3 via webcam online. Really great players. So I mean, if you're trying to step your game up and get more competitive, or just see some different decks, yeah, go check that out. It looks like there should be some VODs on Twitch for that, and yeah, I'm gonna be covering that more in the future. It's just such a cool, fun concept. All right, Explorers, well, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for checking us out. If you like the channel and you haven't already, please subscribe. I know everybody says that, but it really helps out the channel, helps us grow, get the channel spread out more, all that good stuff. But yeah, stay tuned. We will be doing more episodes of this in the near future.